the governor makes his comments on the minutes, we'll be there taking comments, we'll have full coverage for you all night long for the state house. Well, I bet the state house on election night, I sent me an ID for the Ohio News.
I'm also glad to see the resolution of dispute statement, which has never before been seen, to my knowledge, at the membership meeting. Even though it's a dated document and it's attached, it's a revision of the initial group grievance that we all agreed on, and that's very interesting information. I'm glad to get it, and I'd love to know what the further responses are going to be in arbitration and whatever we have going forward. It's fascinating information. And the membership should really know from the get-go when we get a response like that, because it's our grievance and everything we cared about at the time it was filed. To find out about years later is not exactly fair. I'd like to get it right as soon as the local group. So that's kind of my comment about the minutes. It'd be great to have. But thanks for reading off the original grievance. That's what I was looking for in the minutes. And the reason I was looking for it in the minutes is because what we were saying in the minutes was not as complete as either the resolution of dispute statement or the initial grievance. So thanks, man.
Are there any other comments, questions, concerns? Are we discussing this about the general membership meeting? During the general membership meeting last month, during the President's report and the Q&A, the classification grievance was brought up. President Moraes assured the membership that we would have the original grievance would be attached to the minutes going forward. I did not locate my copy. So is this the minutes for October or the minutes for November? The general meeting the union meeting? Yes, sir. Well, my name, I was the president, remember, last month. Yes.
That's correct.
That's correct. But now, if you won't put me there, then I can put my name on the executive board.
That's correct. Dave, you talked about getting a report soon as the local gets it. So yesterday we actually met with David Simpson and we met with Don Gibson. And one of the things that we simply talked about was the title of Information Associated Supply Coordinator. They are willing to actually bring the Information Associate title into the bargaining unit. But what we don't know is we don't get asking for that. But that the Information Associate want to be the unit. So they wouldn't give that title to us, but we have some work that we have to go out and do and organize that group to see if they really want to be a part of the group. In relationship to the supply coordinator and the store clerk, they have deemed that those are definitely two different titles. And even though we feel that there's the people who do one title to the next and are doing the same exact duties, as far as they're concerned, it appears to be no difference if they get a different title. They have agreed to go back and make sure that hospital system, the supply coordinator is doing what the supply coordinator is supposed to be doing. And the store clerk is going to do what they're supposed to do. And the two titles that they're being abused, they stop the abuse as the current one title is next, but not that they feel that they are actually one title. They see their duties to be completely separate. We went back and work on those issues. We brought up actually the example of Miracle. Miracle is one and what's on the other. And it's been actually no different than what she's doing. So we will continue to work at that. Those are the things that are profit to it at this time. We talked about the answer on this. Talked about the ability to file an unfair charge, and they talked about, of course, what it was taking going forward. But at this point in time, we still have not been given an answer that like you have been given. But we have had discussions all the way across about it and are dealing with this thing. At this point in time, we know what they want to do, not how they want to resolve it. But the official answer, we still haven't.
Okay, let us resolve the minutes first before we get into a Q&A. Are there any other questions, corrections, comments on the minutes themselves? At this point, we will entertain a motion to approve the minutes with the corrections on the attendance. Cynthia Stewart, is there a second? Who? Teresa Hardgrove. It's been properly moved and second that the minutes will be approved with the corrections relating to the attendance of Lynn Cornegay and Sean Whitehead. All in favor of approving the corrected minutes? Proper sign of aye. Aye. Opposed, same. The treasurer's report is also before you. It is the October treasurer's report with an amended, corrected November report, September report. Are there any questions, corrections, comments to the treasurer's report? Does the treasurer need to address any issues in the report?
On the September report, it's amended. There was an oversight of, I believe it was the savings account that was not added to the bottom line balance. So that is why I amended the report. And in the immediate future, the finance committee and I will meet, and the report will be reviewed by the finance committee to try to keep that happening.
Hearing no questions, comments, or corrections to the financials as presented, we will entertain a motion for acceptance. Lynn Cornegay, second.
Tony Brown.
Tony Brown. All in favor of accepting the report?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Are there any committees that need to report? City President Murray has arrived. As soon as he becomes, he collects himself, we'll turn over the meeting to President Murray. Say what?
Morning, President.
Good morning, President Murray.
Good afternoon. Well, I got Vice President, and I got
And there are no committee reports.
the question, let me make sure that you are clear. Whomever asked the question regarding the group grievance, who is it? Group grievance? Question. David, did you get it clear? Clear and articulate answer. Well, let's do my question. Do you have any other follow-up questions?
I do, but I was going to wait till after the President's report. Vice President Key made a noble effort to...
Vice President-elect.
He's not president, Vice President.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Vice President,
I just want to be able to still get a hat. That's business here.
Oh,
No, that's okay. Go do
we
it
made
now.
efforts to go... Well, I can...
You said
We
you
can
got...
broach the topic again if you want an update. I think... I said that May explained to me how the resolution of disputes was memorialized in the minutes rather than that original grievance because she didn't find the original grievance. And there being a difference between the original grievance and the resolution of disputes, I kind of asked that the original grievance be memorialized in the next set of minutes that we have and thank May for reading it off at the meeting. So that's how that was resolved. I feel that is satisfactory, and Vice President-elect or I don't know how to...
That's fine.
Well, I also complained that the information they published was from 2010, and since it was a group grievance, that the membership should be immediately informed because it's their concern, and there is an answer like that. So Kevin Key stepped up to say where discussions were at this point with the university, that they had a recent discussion, maybe even yesterday, with David Simpson and others about two of the classifications titles that are involved in the grievance, and that by way of update and an indication that we have not had an answer yet from management was a good thing as far as I was concerned. That's kind of where we left it. Okay. I have more to say that might come off after the President's report on the topic of the classification. If you want me to say that now, I can.
Yes.
Okay. Management makes the changes they want, and then they come to bargain with the union after they have made those changes. There's lots of delay and discussion. And as an indication of that, I brought and Xeroxed off a letter from 2002 where we're talking about classifications and quarreling on the same issues, and there's been lots of delay and going for an answer. Same issues with respect to the storekeeper one title. So my point is, and the reason I'm delivering this letter is I think technically we're being managed by the university in situations where we can grieve what happens, but we have to be obedient in the meantime. And management goes ahead with whatever they're doing. And this includes working people in what are normally bargaining unit duties and leapfrogging much less senior people in positions of power and prominence in a discriminatory way against our local. They have actively done this in the course of our being patient and waiting for answers. So for them to offer down the road that they will include the Information Associates, one of the contested titles in the bargaining unit, masks the fact that they've moved all these much less senior people up, even into management jobs, leapfrogging through their non-union titles and union duties, and created a whole new culture of loyal employees who, like you said last month, are kind of angry babies who don't want to be in the union, because management has put the chill on the union by moving people through a non-classified system where the union looks weak. They're passing out 10% pay increases. The union folks are restricted to 2% increases, and they're undermining the strength of our local and the titles that are listed in the appendix. I'm sure from reading the resolution of disputes indications that the union knows those issues. And I'm very pleased to read the resolution of disputes reformulation of what the union's case is. And I believe in the competence of Kevin Key and you and Mike Moses in addressing these issues. But the university is casing-like in its attacks on the union and attempts to undermine union strength by taking apart a classification system. And I think whatever their answer is, we'll want to fight about it. But what's traditional for the university, what I want to make clear, is they use delay to take the union apart. They've done it in the past, and and I can give many examples, but that's an example of something you talked about years ago, which I haven't heard anybody else talk about, and it's called bad faith farming. And I think that's what we're up against as a membership, and that's why I'm concerned that this stuff gets in the records or memorialized. So with delay, people leave, people forget, all these people end up being your supervisor. They were grabbed from the street and moved through a series of titles. The original grievance asked that we revert at a time where it made sense to revert. Now that they're down the road 2 or 3 years and they've installed all their favorite people in the positions, they're only too happy to bargain with us now that they're down the road and they've done what they wanted for a few years. That's their style, but it's a dirty trick. And Calvin and I talked this morning that we're kind of cut from the same cloth, but it's something that encourages violence at the university because they keep us down and down and down and don't redress our grievances. They honor our officials by talking with our officials, but since the discussion takes years and years, they may be kicking the crap out of the membership the whole time the leadership is negotiating. So that makes the membership down and mouth of our leadership. And they're saying, what happened to our group grievance? What happened to the original language we had, what we were originally trying to get as an answer to our grievance? Meanwhile, we're talking with people who are trying to derail us, smile at us, include us in the meetings, but the meetings go on and on and on and on. So that's what I had to say in addition about the classification. Thank you.
Ted, what's the letter from?
That's a letter from me, I believe, to you about what's going on, the delays involved in the arbitration process back in 2002. That shows the same tactics I'm talking about we're utilizing in the past. So going forward, I hope we can be really sharp and sticking to our guns as a local. There's every indication that people are anxious to be that way. So I'm happy with that.
I hope that those people are here. I hope that they are here, because they would have to at least realize that some of those people who have been promoted and moved up are in fact members. And some of those people who are moved up still remain members. Since the beginning of time, to my organizations, institutions, occupiers have always used time as a delay. It's not new, and it is effective. We have to use math, expand, in order to do it. So in this upcoming term, what we'll be trying to do is gain math. And gain math under a directive that says that we have to be more aggressive. And we have to use new tactics to do it. So we know, while you talk about the university, we work at the university, the picture is so much grander than that. That what we do is we're trying to get in coalition with other people, our piece taken care of. And so I have continuously said that while this thing is going on, we still got to do our own thing. So that's what we have to do. We have to move forward with those things. We have a Kasich, not a Kasich-like, but we have a Kasich who is saying that public workers shouldn't have productive, progressive jobs and benefits. We have a governor that says that. Wisconsin has one. New Jersey has one. Our governor seems to be the one that has really pushed it further. So our real struggle is that we make those things happen, but we have to gain more mass. We should be able to do it. This should be the time to do it. And making people who are unorganized realize that they are those same public workers that they attack us. And so that is what part of our job is to be done. I don't believe at this particular time that the resolution of disputes is different than the mass grievance. Really, I think what the ROD does is articulate what the grievance is. You know, you get about that much space with the grievance. I don't really recall that it's different in language or intent. So, I mean, whatever it is that they said they would provide, they'll provide. I don't believe that there's a difference. And you had a long comment.
Okay.
And, you know, we are negotiating with them about that grievance and the venue to handle it. You know, like the State Board of Review, looking at the appropriateness of the duties and where they are. We're doing that right now specifically on 2 titles. And it a long time, but it takes a long time. It doesn't take that long, actually, for us to give up. That was short of time. Yeah, it's over, it's gone. But we keep going at it. You know, it's not like we have sat down to the table and said, we're going to give you everything you want. We think that you're right. We like your idea. We don't seek that. What we seek is some kind of cogent and final answer to our query, qualm, or question, which is, we think, our qualm is we think they're doing bargaining work and thereby eroding the title. Question is, how can we legally get that turned around? So the query, that's the query, and then the qualm is, of course, the issue. And the question is, how can we get it done in different ways? Now, so what we've done is, Kevin probably told you that. Sorry, Kenny. What we've done is, we try to approach it through the grievance process. We had a very kind of litigious issue on that. So then we tried to do it in a way that was collaborative, which was going to the board and making an amendment clarification together, which moved it further. That didn't work. Now we're at the point where we will have to make singularly, or we will, propose an amendment to the classification, which would include information associates, and we have probably going to do an amendment for supply coordinator, which we think essentially both titles are storekeepers, right? So those actions have occurred, and it's taken a long time, no doubt about that. It's very frustrating, whoever it is that's doing, that it affects directly, because it's not as frustrating as those that it doesn't affect directly. However, as you said, that could spread, will spread. It's a philosophy, right? And as they more and more act like a place of education and philosophy, they act like less and less like that, more and more like corporate culture. It gets more and more difficult. It just happens. So I don't want to disagree with you at all, but I felt like your characterization was close to, we're just sitting waiting. And I'm saying we're not just sitting waiting. We're tunneling, we're digging, we're tunneling to try to get to where we want to go in any way we can. In any way we can. And as Kevin said, yesterday we had yet another discussion about what their view is as it is opposed to ours. So we'll keep on doing those kind of things. If we have to do something less internal, then we'll do it external. So, serve as part of that external experience. And there was one more thing. And then, if we do it external versus that, what we call continuous negotiation, then we're almost just set with what the answer is. And so that's why the internal process is, more aggressive and dug into, because when we get to external, we're kind of set. We've got an answer from an authority that is not the university. It would be an authority which is the state, and then we have to try to figure out what to do next versus suing the state. While that's going on, we're in the third day of arbitration, which is yet another process. And it all has to go on at the same time. So it probably is more difficult for those who are doing these exercises to we won't have the same scale of frustration because we're doing something. You know what I mean? Waiting is always frustrating. Always frustrating. So while we're doing those things, we ask the membership to be doing those other things. Like talking to people about you are a public worker too, and the attack is on you. Talking about we need to gain numbers in order to gain mass, in order to gain, I'm going to say power for lack of another word, influence, in order to gain influence. And those are some of the reasons that, we participate in things that are community-wide to gain mass, to gain influence, and to gain that. And that's why we participate. So I'm not saying that you're wrong at all. I'm saying that there's a view which are kind of know that as we speak, they're changing again. As we speak, they're changing. You know, now they're talking about integration of services between FOD, the medical center, and I think student life will be involved. So as we approach one issue, you know, other issues arise, and that's the nature of the life. So when we talk about the parking garage, which is almost another issue in corporatization or privatization of public works, we talk about that on one front. We talk about the type of classifications on the other front. Now we're talking about a culmination of workforces that would change the way business is done, and it would leave you to some degree practically harmless, but not practical. You know, not practical, because now we're going to have issues about where you work, when you work, issues like the virtual warehouse. All of that kind of starts over again. So the reason that math is important is because math gives you the ability to touch a lot of different points at the same time. And not be really distracted by one feature issue or another, but paying attention to each issue at the same time. So, you know, as we talked about this morning, on weeks other than this morning, you know, we've been looking for a strategic sort of plan to make sure we touch all those things at one time and have the proper attention. David.
I think I've got something that should be part of connecting with that mass, and I'd like to propose it. When the meeting notices come out, we have a proposed agenda of the President's report, the committee reports, officers' reports, questions and answers. I'd like to make a motion that we add to the agenda old business and new business as part of every meeting slide.
Okay.
In this way, the membership would be included, not just the officers and the stewards, and it would make the mass that we're trying to connect with feel more free, that they could bring the delayed issues they might have to deal with or new issues they wanted to bring up. Make it clear that the membership was giving the marching orders for the organization that serves them, which is critical for expanding and organizing. So,
well, old business and new business is a standard thing for me. You know, it's said in the, I know it's hard. I'm sleepy, not that sleepy. No. Old business and new business is a standard thing for the meeting, unless we excuse that. So what I'll do is I'll put the motion. You made the motion. Everybody hears the motion. Everybody understand the motion? One more time.
In addition to the agenda, that old business and new business be added as bullet points to our general membership meeting flyers.
Okay. Do I have a second? Okay. We gotta have members second for the motion. Dwayne Jones. All in favor of said motion, signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. The motion is passed. Now, what I kind of call the membership part cooperation or activity is questions and answers, concerns and comments, pleas and pleasures. Lee Paul.
I'm concerned about them mixing, a hospital with FOD.
It's already done here.
He said, what is his concern? He didn't say make it stop happening. You have the floor, Lee. Your concern is?
My concern is that what happened in FOD is that by combining the service of custodian and maintenance, they got the money mixed up, because there was separate money for the maintenance and there was separate money for the custodian. By them mixing the hospital with FOD, then my concern would be them starting to mix up the money. And by them mixing up the money, what happened like in FOD, How are they gonna keep the money from, being, how are they gonna keep themselves from being short, budget in the future? I think we should push for answers on that, because that would be the real most important, that would be our target. Our target with them would be prove to us that you're not gonna mess up the budget.
We will never have proof of that. And if we can't, well, but we'll never have proof of that. It's their budget. I mean, I believe there's a slight bit of confusion about where the money comes from and who does the budget. I know that the medical center will try to protect their budget, and FOD and the others will try to protect that. You know, this is like Mike said, not Mike, I'm sorry, David said, hey, the president has declared one university. It's moving right along that way. There's going to be a high-level person in the medical center that's going to retire in a facility. And upon their retirement, they will have the FOD high-level person, maybe it's Mike Dixon, and whoever the other person is in the medical center that will take the retired person. They will all report to Jay Casey, who is a executive vice president or something like that. They're all going to have the same reporting stream. That, in turn, will turn into a situation where they both report to the same guy, they work cooperatively, and they're trying to find a way to take the workforce. And this is what I told you is fact. This is my speculation. Try to take the workforce and kind of move it around as it's needed. So budget, when you have a $1 billion project here, and you have, I think the last trustees meeting, they said they had $600 million just in the hospital. You know that physical facility campus has always worked on a budget that you kind of make what you get. And when they contract out and those kind of things, you're not making it, so you're not going to get it. You know what I mean? And so their budgetary woes have been forever, because they're not funded the way that other people are. The medical center generates funds. Generates big funds. Student life generates funds. Tuition, charges for staying in the dorms and such, big funds. Those concerns are planned out that they're going to take care of their self. Not necessarily our strategy has to be one that says that we maintain a workforce and grow a mass and community support, as well as, our community is campus. So non-union as well as union. So that's our target. You can't really strategize in this package without the full implement of what has to happen, right? So to me, it's sort of like going into Germany with nobody there on the ground ready to support. You know what I mean? It's like the Navy going in without the Marines. So we have to find and maintain the Marines. And that's kind of what has to happen. But like David said, I'm still waiting for conclusive information further down. Than they're all going to be reporting to the same executive president. I think they call them executive presidents, vice presidents or something, because there's so many layers. You have a vice president of a department or division, you have an associate vice president, you have assistant vice president, and then you go down to the directors, and then everybody's supposed to report. So there's so many layers that it's hard to get to where you want to go. And people that report directly to you, they have to be there. The work, I'm not sure.
One of the ways they create this German atmosphere with nobody on the ground is they posted a couple storekeeper one jobs where the angry babies who don't want to be in the union or information associates, I believe, had to take storekeeper one jobs where they're now in the union. And they negotiated individually with those people when they applied that they'd be using their own transportation to work the virtual warehouse they had on campus. So I think we all know if they had one of their vice presidents or board lead working at different universities, he'd be compensated in some way for traveling to and fro and having that additional responsibility working in remote locations. But with storekeeper one, they didn't bother to bargain that with the union or make the changes to classification system. So that's an example of how they maintain the atmosphere. These information associates came from the street, and they moved up over people who had more seniority and are already there. So they're fiercely loyal, don't want to be in the union, but they're willing to sign anything in terms of the job description and use their own transportation because they're fiercely loyal to management based on the fact that they've been moved up above everybody else who's already here. And I don't have to mention to people that the overlap in job duties is dangerous because if there's a layoff, management's going to pick their favorites and retain them doing your duties when you might have much more seniority and fall by the wayside. So I appreciate the union working on this stuff and realizing how critical those issues are. And we got to get the mass. I totally agree with that. And members, if you know anybody who wants to join the union, get them aboard because management's after us, for sure.
Joining would be preferable. Support and alliance is okay too. You know, it's just very okay too, because when you get to a thing like Senate Bill 5, and pieces and parts are going to be coming out soon, you still need to be able to have the math to defeat that. And the way to get that math is information and understanding. Do I have another? I'm going to alter call. Are there any more questions?
I mean, not once before, but if we're going to start our bargaining coming up, I was going through things to come up with me. This is a bumper sticker CWA made for 1997 negotiations. And it says, negotiations for our next contract begin in January 1997. You have time to join and secure the basic things about your job in writing. Contact an area steward or stop by the local office and sign up. We could use the same kind of bumper sticker to get people all ready for our next contract. And I think we ought to be, rather than balled up in what the evil things management is trying to do completely, we might want to start thinking about our next contract. And in view of that, a suggestion I made several months ago was, this is a letter I got from management about their loss of employee information due to computer hacking or something. And they send a letter out to everybody and say, you can sign up for this security service and free of charge for 1 year, they'll monitor your situation. Well, I think we need contract language that says if the management's technology in Ohio State slips and our identity is leaked, that they should be permanently responsible for that, not send a letter to everybody bargaining with them, offering them free security protection for a year. If they lose our information, medical, personal, social security numbers, it's on them because they're responsible for it for all time as far as I'm concerned. So that could be a beefed up thing we could get in our contract. And I hope when negotiations starts, that people will be alert to the kind of language they need to protect them from management. I'd be glad to give these to the chair. If you need copies? Or,
I'm aware of it.
Okay.
You do copies to the office staff. Keep those also.
Well, no, I made copies
Did you?
to the office staff, so I'll just hand them off to what we can.
Mr. Harkin.
I like the idea of the message, but I don't know about a bumper sticker now.
Yeah.
Maybe we can do something like a flyer or put something in the newsletter that says the very same thing, but sticking that on your car. You know what I mean? And then, you know, negotiations don't be over and you got this bumper sticker made through, you know, whatever. So
Well,
just a flyer or something in the newsletter.
Well, my philosophy about those kind of things, you know, over the past 3 years, we've expanded, and we've initiated communication, right? So that team ought to be able to come up with different deals. If you do like a bumper sticker, it's a bumper sticker. If you like your email, it's your email. Facebook, it's on electronic things, it's a newsletter, it's in a special bulletin, whatever. You know, I like the saturated edition. You know, maybe, I'm telling you right now, I have no belief that we can upgrade it. But after the team investigated, maybe a bus. You know, the route that comes up and down High Street. You know, that kind of thing. So that gives us more saturation. So, you know, no idea is, it's the message that counts. And it's the vehicle and the way you try to get it that counts. And so we would do that, seeing it as a viable thing, and we'll write write it down and think about it, see how we get that done. We may even be able to get money from the district for that. But, your point is taken. You don't have to use a bumper sticker just because you want to carry the message. Bumper stickers is as good an idea as anything else. Everybody in here has a different view about what they personally like. And so we'll try to touch about 5 different needs, maybe 10, whatever. But the idea is still on the mind of the people. Again,
I'd just like to make a motion to in the meeting.
do the drawing. Do the drawing. Okay. If I hear you. If you will allow, have one announcement, and then we'll go directly into the drawing and then the meeting. That motion is there a second? I heard a second.
I second.
Here for long. All in favor of said motion signify by saying aye. Aye. All not in favor, same sign. Okay, that's what we'll do.
One announcement that I have is we are looking for volunteers for the one new toy that occurs on December 17th at St. Stephen's. You can sign up here. We do have some volunteers that we already have on the list, but anyone else who wishes to add to the list, let me know after the meeting. Yes, ma'am. Okay.
Does everyone have a ticket? Pick it up. First number is, the last 3 digits of the first number is 716. Next, 1125.
Oh!
All right.
All right. Very good.
It was attached to yours at one point.
No, it ain't me.
719. Right here. Come on,
You said you was the pastor.
Okay.